Okay, I'm going to talk about some cute little itty bitty fossils, and I will use a jelly belly. Oh, ignore my wound. Jelly belly for scale. It is not a potato. It is just a little itty bitty jelly belly. So these guys, these are called star crinoids, and I am pulling them out of this. I know my lab right here looks super professional, but a friend of mine brought me a gallon of anthill stuff, like a gallon of anthill in this Ziploc bag. And it was so cool of her to bring me the whole bag full of stuff so that I could sort through all of these things. And what I'm finding is I'm finding these cool little star crinoids. And, oh, that's not a star crinoid. That one should go over here. So the star crinoids are from Jurassic Age. Actually, they're from before Jurassic Age through Jurassic Age. And these are from the Bighorn Basin in Wyoming. They are little creatures that lived on the bottom of the ocean. They would attach to a shell or a rock or even a plant. And you can see right here, it's just a stack of stars. Isn't it just the coolest thing? Just this little stack of stars. And I've got this whole little, this is how much I've got so far out of my gallon bag. And here's another, you can see the stacks right there. That's how they grew, it was just stacks. And so I'm really having fun sorting through this anthill and pulling all these things out. And these star crinoids, I've wanted some of these for as long as I've known about them, which has been, gosh, it feels like decades. But anyway, that's those. And then we have these little, that guy, that's a little, that one, does that look like it? Yeah, these all are, you can see a little bit better that one, the shape. You can almost see the snail shape on this, the cone snail shape. That one, you can see it for sure. These guys are all, they're called gastropods. Gastro meaning stomach, pod meaning foot, so they are called stomach foot because that's basically all these snails are, is a stomach and a foot, and they just walk around eating stuff. These are also Jurassic Age, Jurassic Age to Cretaceous Age, yeah, and just gastropods. These guys are called bryozoans, these little stick-like things. Cat, I'm really hoping that Guinevere does not think that my pile of anthill rocks is a litter box. So far it's been out for days and so far it's been safe, so yay. Anyway, there's another cool little gastropod that you can really see the shape of. And then this one right here I really like. Let's pull that out because it's like very well preserved. You can definitely see its snail shape there, its gastropod shape. Oh, the sticks, the bryozoans. Bryozoans are almost 500 million years old. These are one of the earliest life forms, multicellular life forms. Sorry about that. So those are pretty cool. They filter feeders. They would eat stuff out of the water, any organic matter out of the water, dead things, poop, whatever's floating by. This little thing is a piece of a Gryphaea, or a devil's toenail. It's called a devil's toenail just for fun, but that's another piece of that. Let's see, I know I've got a couple of really good ones in here. This is a really good one. Yeah, look at that. That's, it's called a devil's toenail because it kind of looks like a toenail with a fungus. So it's a type of mollusk. So the little creature lived down in here inside the cup, and then its shell, of course, would grow around outside of it. So it's kind of sort of like an oyster. And this is just an itty bitty baby. Again, it's Jurassic Cretaceous age, lived in the Western Interior Seaway with all of its star crinoid friends, its gastropod friends. Also, I think there's a belemnite in here too. Is that a belemnite? That might be a belemnite. I'll talk about those in a minute. But these devil's toenails, all curved up, and when they got bigger and older, they would, oh, here's another itty bitty one. But they would get older and curve around so much. See how those shells are curved? But they would curve around so much that they could no longer open. And when they couldn't open, they couldn't eat. So that's what they eventually died from, was because they couldn't open their shells and eat. It's a really interesting design. I don't know how they evolved to even becoming that. It's that kind of almost seems like a mistake, but I don't think evolution is really a mistake. It's just interesting. That's a really nice looking gastropod. Look at that one. These guys, okay. These guys are called foraminiferas, or forams for short. Those, would you believe those are single-celled creatures that were around these skeletons? So these skeletons were basically internal, but it's not like skeletons like bones like we would think of, or even like an ant skeleton. Dude. Ugh. Making me nuts. Okay. But the single-celled creature would move in. It's got little tiny pores in here. You can't really see it with a cell phone camera, but it's got little tiny pores, and that single-celled organism would move in and around inside the center of that, and through the pores and around the outside. And billions of those are washed up on shore every day on this beach in Japan. I read about these and I just went completely gaga over them, of course, because they are star-shaped and they're really cool, and they're things that come from the earth. And so I had to have them. So I know my fingers are really dry. So I bought these off of Etsy from a gal who claims to source them ethically, like meaning I think she bought them from a group of women who spend their time sorting these out and putting them in little jars to sell to make money. So this is my little jar of other fossils. Oopsie. Of fossils. Look, little Gryphaea there. Lots of Gryphaea in here. Belemnites in here. These are just the extra fossils. My first round was specifically for star crinoids because I really love the stars, obviously. I mean, who wouldn't love stars? But look at that nice little stack right there. But I ended up with this little container of stars. And then after I was pulling all these stars, I knew there were some little gastropods in there, but I wasn't as like crazy excited about the gastropods and the Gryphaea. And then I found some bryozoans. Well, I'm actually a pretty big fan of bryozoans, so I thought, well, I'm going to pull out some bryozoans, which are the stick-like things, and one of the earliest life forms on the planet. And as I was pulling out the bryozoans, then I started coming across these really nice-looking Gryphaea. Look at that one. You can really see the cup right there. I know I just made a mess of it, but anyway, some really nice devil's toenails in there. Oh, look, there's another one. Look at that. So cool. And then right on top, I think that's a belemnite. So to the right, top right of the circle, you can see that devil's toenail, that Gryphaea. And straight left, there's like a little clasped and then a pyramid or a cone-shaped thing that's pointing downward. That is a little bitty belemnite. Belemnites are ancient squid that used to live in the oceans, and ichthyosaurs used to munch on these belemnites, but that little, yeah, I just lost it. The little bullet shapes They would get to be like 4-6 inches long. There's some really big belemnites, and those belemnites are inside the squid's head as kind of a defense mechanism, but they got eaten by the ichthyosaurs anyway. So the ichthyosaurs would come eat them. They would not be able to digest those cones or those rostrum, and they would puke them up later. Like, I think it's a sperm whale that will eat squid, but they can't digest their beaks. So eventually they will puke up the beaks. I guess they collect a bunch of beaks and puke them up. I don't know. But that's what happened here, is these ichthyosaurs would eat the squid, later puke up the rostrum. And so now that's what we have as fossils, is those bullet-shaped things inside their heads. And squids are cephalopods. Cephalopods and belemnites. Belemnites are cephalopods. And that means head foot, because it was just a head and feet, like octopus and squid like we have today. So that's your geology lesson for today on this little batch of anthill material I have from the Bighorn Basin in Wyoming, just south of Cody, Wyoming, I think. Have a great rocky day.